Howdy and hello, I'm Ashedra, aka Mrs. Owl, and today I have some Reddit stories, fact or fiction, from the marriage subreddit. If anyone is interested in my art commissions, you can email me at ashedra@tutanota.com or visit my Ko-fi page, links in the description. Our first story is from Celinda13. Is it fair that I make the unilateral decision that my husband and I will never have sex again because I had a miscarriage last year? And even though my husband would deny it, it is quite obvious that he was relieved. Shortly after the long 2 weeks I had to endure going through miscarrying our baby, my husband made the decision for both of us that we are not going to have another child. We only have a 6-year-old son. I feel completely betrayed by his unilateral decision that he made for our family. There is no way I can be intimate with him because I cannot separate my want to have more children from the act of passionate hugging. I do not want to be intimate with my husband because I have lost all trust in him and feel completely betrayed by him and his decision. We have been seeing a therapist for marriage counseling and individual sessions for the last 5 months. Still, my feelings have not changed. I have no desire to be intimate with my husband. The thought of being intimate with my husband, of having passionate hugging with him, makes me want to cry because that is the process to having a baby, which is what I want and he will not allow. I know myself and I will never get over this. First, OP, let me offer my condolences on the loss of your child. It sounds like this has been traumatizing for you and your husband, and I'm sorry you two are going through this painful experience. Second, I wish I knew whether your husband was also going to individual therapy. You mentioned going to therapy yourself, but I suspect that if he isn't, he needs to. He had to watch his wife, and the mother of his child, go through 2 weeks of pain and suffering, losing a child he also probably bonded with to some extent. I have to assume that this has scared him off trying again for another child. I don't know if this is the first miscarriage or if you two have been struggling for a while and he just can't take the heartbreak anymore. But either way, know that your husband probably has also suffered. It's in a different way from you as the mother, but I imagine he has stayed awake at night blaming himself for your pain. You want another child, and you have put yourself under no small amount of stress to achieve that. Baby making is more than just procreation. It's also intimacy between you two and a part of your relationship together. Cutting it off will be more of a strain on that relationship than I think you realize. Finally, it sounds like you two really need to sit down and have at least one, but probably several serious conversations about this. You need to decide if one child is enough for you, whether you could untangle physical intimacy from having a baby, maybe even explore other options if your husband is scared for your own health. These are things you cannot assume. I encourage you to listen with an open heart and the same attitude you hope your husband has when he listens to you. Best of luck, OP. Our next story is from Deleted. Mom said I was wrong for not telling my husband's girlfriend that he had a vasectomy. Well, that title's interesting. My, female 35, husband, male 40, cheated on me twice. On the second time, I was done, and I moved out with our children. We have 4 children, ranging from ages 2 to 6. We were separated for almost a year, and I was miserable. And during that time, he begged me to go back with him every day because he said that he loved me and because he was miserable too. I had to start working again, and I was so lonely and tired all the time. Anyway, what I'm trying to excuse is that we got back together. I had my conditions. I don't want any passionate hugging with him anymore, and I want him to have a vasectomy. He makes $180K a year, and I get to stay home with my children. In return, we opened the marriage as long as I don't hear or see anything about the other women, and he doesn't spend money on gifts or fancy things for them. It has been a year of this arrangement, and everything is great. Life is back to normal, and I have a different kind of relationship with my husband now that is amicable, and we get along well. Yesterday, a woman showed up at my door to tell me that she was his girlfriend. I don't know what he has told her, but that wasn't our agreement at all. They are not allowed to contact me in any way. I panicked, but she put herself in the door, so I couldn't shut it. So she works with him. I think she's the one he cheated on me with the second time. She asked me why I didn't just leave him alone so he could be with the one he wanted instead. I told her she should talk to him instead and tried to close the door again, but she wasn't relenting. Then she started saying that their relationship is serious and what would happen when they have children. I just froze. She said something along the lines of, "Are you slow?" I told her she really needed to talk to him instead and that she should go now. An hour later, my husband called me and he was frantic, apologizing because the deal was that I never had to do anything with that part of his life. She must have told him that she was here. I was shaken by the incident and asked him not to come home that night. I was telling my mom this, and she thought that I was the one in the wrong for not telling the girlfriend the truth, since the poor girl thought she had a future with him. She started talking about how women have limited windows to have children, and that I was wrong for not telling her about the vasectomy. I don't know. I've been thinking all day, but I don't think I was in the wrong. None of this is my business. Besides, I have no idea what kind of relationship they even have. Please, I don't want to be involved in any of this. OP, you are a grown woman. If you want to stay with this man, that's your business. The comfort of yourself and your children isn't exactly small potatoes. This hussy, however, is not your business. Your condition was that your husband could chase skirts, provided you never had to deal with him or these women. It sounds like everyone knows this, except for, I'll be frank, she sounds like a gold digger. What kind of woman wants to sleep with a married man, even if it is an open marriage? I'm sure she's convinced that as long as she gets pregnant, she'll have the man, the house, the money, the status. You get the whole deal. But ladies, the way you get a man is how you'll lose him. And gentlemen, that goes for you too. Anyone who will cheat for you will cheat on you. So no, OP, you didn't need to tell your husband's mistress that he can't get her pregnant. And you should probably reconsider your ties to your mother. I cannot believe she would tell her own daughter to consider the feelings of her husband's mistress. That's so absolutely unbelievable. You owe the mistress and your mother absolutely nothing. It's crazy that I even have to say that. Cheer up, OP. I'm sure your husband will give you another concession for the inconvenience of his bad choices. But I'd be prepared for more crazies to show up. I'd also ask him to install a front door camera. If I had a deal with Redacted, this would make a great spot for a sponsored ad. Moving right along. The next story is from Indigo Pirate. How to reassure my 30 male, fiance, 30 female, that I can handle marriage despite lifestyle differences. My life is set up for both efficiency and leisure to the max. Sunday, I meet up with my family, sometimes attend church in the morning, and have lunch. Afternoon, I batch cook meals for the week, cleaning lady comes over to spruce up the place, and I collect dirty clothes to drop off on Monday for laundry and ironing. Monday to Friday, which is mainly the problem, I work 10 minutes away, so I wake up at 8 o'clock and come back a stroke after 5 p.m. I get my daily workout in, eat, and then study for board exams, do some extra stuff to get me ahead professionally. By the time that's done, it's 7 p.m. That gives me 5 hours of fun me time. That includes gaming, anime, TV, reading. I practice soccer or go to Brazilian jiu-jitsu, beers out with the boys, or poker/fight night at somebody's house. I'm the guy that's always free and down for whatever, so people frequently call me up to do random, enjoyable activities. Saturday is our day, dedicated for us, and it is truly magical. We meet early, have a fried breakfast, and watch cartoons. Then we go out for some activities like the zoo, an escape room, cycling, tennis. We relax later with games, some adult time in bed, and if we're feeling adventurous, go out to bars, clubs, arcades, comedy shows, etc., with and without other couples. We enjoy ourselves so much, have great conversations, and that day is what really hinges us together. Her world is very different. She works 40 hours a week in a relatively busy, patient-facing role. She lives with her family, and it's one of those households where there's always phones ringing, chatter, pots and pans on the boil, and there are seven cats and dogs to take care of. It's endless chores and dealing with random needs. Her sister pops in a couple times a week with destructive nephews. She has 2 grandparents locally that also need care between them. They have a 2-hour ritual of cooking food from scratch, feeding, medicating the pets, and watching TV together as a family. Bam! It's nighttime, and she's exhausted, and it's time for bed. It sounds exhausting, and I get it. But I have been accused of tuning her out during the week. With that amount of activity going on, there's always some random issue like grandma broke her ankle, she can't find her cat, her nephew broke her Alexa, her auntie gossiped about her. There's only so much, "I'm sorry, boo. That sounds so hard. Oh my god, no way, can't believe that," before I either lose interest or start to sound fake. We have communicated, and I have worked on some things like I try to send more empathetic messages without prompting and try to dedicate 30 minutes to 1 hour of dedicated quality time over video chat. I encouraged her to take up aerial gymnastics once a week to break up the routine of life. I feel for her, I really do, but there are increased concerns as we draw near our wedding. She's been making statements such as, "My life is fundamentally selfish, and I always do exactly what I want at all times." She is increasingly anxious that I will not cope with the realities of married life, whatever that means. She says I live like a child in college that hasn't transitioned to adulthood. I'm starting to get a bit frustrated because there is literally not much I can do in the week, and most of those issues are not my problem, and some, not all, of her stresses could be avoided. Don't rehome stray cats maybe? There's other small points of contention that are of a similar theme. She will put in a huge effort for holidays and every single person's birthday. I don't really see the point of all of that faff. In fact, I think hers is the only birthday I truly celebrate and get elaborate with plans or gifts. I never decorated my house for a holiday in my life, and my parents never bothered either growing up. How do we deal with these resentment issues head on, or at least comfort her anxiety? For context, we both agreed to not cohabitate before marriage. It's socially and culturally unacceptable. Whew. Well, alright OP, this is a tough one. First, I think the majority of comments are completely out of line, calling you essentially a man baby or a misogynist. You sound like a well-put-together young man who has worked hard to be very organized to maximize your day-to-day life. Mr. Owl and myself are very similar. We both value time to ourselves. You are very organized and have set up things to maximize your downtime. Your fiancé is less organized, which isn't unexpected given her family commitments and with all of the pets and people popping in and out unexpectedly. There's nothing necessarily wrong with her lifestyle, although it sounds very stressful to me personally, but if she likes it that way, there's nothing wrong with that. Her comments to you, more like insults really, are over the line though. The problem, I think, is you both think married life will be a continuation of your current lives, with some adjustments, sure, but otherwise largely the same, and I don't think that either of you have sat down to really hash this out between you two. There are some key areas that could be contentious and potentially deal breakers that you need to talk about. Number one, family commitments. Does your fiancé expect to have family over frequently? These disaster nephews that stop by at her parents' place multiple times a week, will they be coming to you instead for babysitting? Will you two be going to her parents' place? How often? For how long? Etc. Number two, household chores. You cook once a week and portion everything out for the rest of the week. You clearly see cooking as a necessary chore. She cooks daily and sees it as quality time with her family. When you get married, does she want to cook every day, or do you want to trade off? If she does like cooking every day, does she want you to take over other chores? And that sort of thing. Number three, holidays and special occasions. It sounds like your fiancé sees special occasions and gift giving as her love language. It's how she shows she cares to her loved ones. You didn't grow up with that, and your love language seems to be time. You value spending time with other people and give your time to others as how you show that you care. Both are valid, but you should discuss how to handle holidays and special occasions. I see in the comments that you give her parents gifts for major holidays and occasions. Will your fiancé expect that for her entire family once you're married? Does she want decorations for major holidays like Thanksgiving or Christmas? What about Valentine's Day? All in all, it sounds like you two only have a general idea of what you think married life will look like and haven't discussed it in detail. My advice, like some commenters, is to do it now and save yourself heartache later. Before you sit down together, you should each write up a calendar of everything you still want to make time for after you're married, and how much of a time commitment it is. You can write this out on an actual calendar, or just put it in bullet points. But either way, you should do it separately, and then come together and see whether you two are on the same page. Premarital counseling can help you with this if you two are struggling. Best of luck, OP, and I hope it works out for you two. I really do. Well, that wraps that up, folks. I've got some animated commissions coming up next, so tune in next time to see those. TTFN, ta-ta for now.